Okay, so I'm Peter Hawley. I'm a hotelier in Eastbourne. I came to Eastbourne in 1971. Started at the Cavendish Hotel as a junior assistant manager, and I worked there for 4 years and then moved to the Queen's as general manager, then the Grand as general manager, and then I bought the Chatsworth Hotel and sold it 10 years later. I'm now running the Chatsworth and 3 other hotels in Eastbourne, so I'm Mr. Eastbourne Hotels. When I first came to Eastbourne in 1971, that's the early 70s when things were developing after the fun and games of the 60s. And it was a good resort. It's an even better resort now, but though it's slightly smaller probably. The first function I attended to as an assistant manager at the Cavendish, the Duke of Edinburgh came as a guest. So that very much is my first memory of that hotel. Well, back in the 70s, there were more hotels in Eastbourne, but many of them were small guest houses that didn't offer en suites and didn't have the sort of offer that people expected. So they went back to residential. But what's maintained is the seafront, the quality seafront hotels, a lot of investment, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star in the Grand Hotel. So a slightly smaller but a better hotel industry exists now, born from the earlier days. Nowadays, the industry is very important. It's the most important industry to the resort. It employs 4,500 people. Sales are £320 million. That's just from residential guests. There's an enormous amount of day visitors that are spending money in the shops and around the area. So it's an important part of the local economy, the hotel and tourism scene. The pier has always been an important attraction for visitors. Everybody has a walk down the pier. Now there's a nightclub on the end. Back in the 70s or late 60s, there was a theatre on the end. So what you now see at Devonshire Park, you would have seen on the end of the pier. There was a fire there, unfortunately, that destroyed that. But all the other things along there have been maintained over the years. And it was sad that we had the fire this year, but I think it'll be restored to its former glory and will become an attraction again, as it has been for over 100 years. Llewellyn's in particular, the two brothers have used the hotels over the years for events, but they've been significant in developing and improving the properties. I mean, Llewellyn's is no more, of course, as a company, but back in the 70s, 80s and the 90s, they did a lot of work. They rebuilt the Grand. They actually rebuilt the Grand in Brighton. I know you're talking about Eastbourne. So they were an important family. Caffin as well. They used to use the hotels a lot. They've slipped away a little bit as well. Your own family, of course, are still very much customers of our hotels in Eastbourne and the restaurants. So there's been a lot of loyalty to the hotel industry from Eastbourne residents. Although we're primarily there for the tourist industry, the residents of Eastbourne, of course, use our hotels for functions and events and restaurants. So, we're here in the community very much so. The bandstand, again, like the pier, people go on the bandstand. I mean, it's quite old-fashioned, although they've modernised it a bit with tribute bands, etc. But people still like the military bands. It's right in front of one of our hotels, the Mansion. You get a terrific vantage point from the windows there. Again, it's been a bit neglected, but now it's having some loving care and treatment again. So, that's an important landmark. The other one that everybody goes to is Beachy Head, just outside the resort. The views from up there, as you well know, are magnificent. And we always get our guests to take the open-top bus from the pier up to the top of Beachy Head. If they're able, walk back down, because it's such a fantastic walk. But it's an iconic part of the area, Beachy Head, so everybody goes up there. Another feature for our domestic tourism are people going to the theatre, and we accommodate them with early dinners or late dinners. But maintaining 4 theatres is really quite something for Eastbourne to do. They're all in good condition. Congress is having a facelift at the moment. Devonshire Park, is a good-looking theatre. People always want to go to the theatre, and we're delighted that Eastbourne is able to maintain that offer, because it's really quite an important part of the holiday. The ratepayers of Eastbourne pay for the carpet gardens, but they're quite unique. They apparently cost £200,000 a year to maintain, and the council looks at various ways of changing that. But outcry from the hotels, of course, because it's such an important part. It's a simple offer, but it's a flat seafront, and the demographics give us more elderly people, or active elderly people, who love walking along the prom. Keeps them fit, and the carpet gardens are superb. They are so well maintained, and they have been all the years I can remember. An important part of the presentation of the resort, very much so. There have been changes, of course, over that period of time, and if I reflect on that, the changes have been for the better. If I'm honest, if I look at the resort now, it's smarter, it's cleaner, it's contracted in certain parts. It's developed, of course, to the west to the east. I mean, with all the harbour and that, which is another interesting offer for our customers, that harbour area. So I think overall the resort has improved. What hasn't changed is the beauty of the area that we live in, the villages and the options for people to travel out from Eastbourne. The Downs, the fact now we're in national park status surrounding us. So I think the future is good for the resort, very much so. I'm not retiring yet. I've still got a few more years to put to the hotel business, and I know I should stay in the resort. It's a lovely place to live, and it's a healthy place to live as well. The ozone, the fresh air does make a difference, which again is another reason people historically come to the seaside, because it's fresh air. And all these hotels were built over 100 years ago when sea bathing became popular. Some of them were houses converted, like the Chatsworth we're sitting in now was 3 houses converted to a hotel. Only the Grand and the Queen's were purpose-built hotels. So, all these properties on the front became hotels because of the sea over there, because sea bathing was the thing to do, and it still is. So I think it's a great place.